Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
And a jolly good morning to you. This is Newsline live, as always, from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. This morning, Sri Lanka awakes to the news at the loss of one of its most respected citizens ever. Sri Lanka Bimanya Sir Lester James Pierce died yesterday at the age of 99. And joining me this morning in a roundup of current affairs, and especially with the focus on corruption, what else, is my colleague from the Newsfirst team, Chathuranga Hapuarachchi. Very good morning, Chathuranga.
Good morning to you, Faraz.
And first of all, Chathuranga, the country has awoken to the news finally that Sir Lester James Pierce has passed away after yeoman service to our nation. He has directed over 28 films. As film director, screenwriter, and a film producer. In fact, I didn't know this, but it is one of his films that was Sri Lanka's first ever submission to the Academy Awards. So, nice and rich history, 3 times or more your age. And have you, at your age group, come across Lester James Pierce?
I have not, Faraz, but as you have been mentioning, Sri Lanka Abhimanya is the highest national honor a person can receive in Sri Lanka, and you mentioned 28 movies he has been involved in. He was famous for us for taking the movie recording or shooting the movie outside into the real world instead of recording it in a studio setting.
That's right. He's in rural settings. His films often dealt with Sri Lanka's family life in rural settings, and also on conflicted characters. And I suppose some people say that he helped create an authentic expression of Sinhala cinema.
True for us. And we've huge loss to the country.
Yes, we shall sadly miss Lester James Pierce, but we will happily remember the contributions Lester made to this industry, and one of those people who kept Sri Lanka on the map. The life and times of Sir Lester James Pierce, of course, will be covered by our various other programs, and we'll now carry on to the rest of what we plan to do today, and that was to go through some of these high value or big interest ticket items. One, of course, is that the Kandy monasteries reject the state diktat on Vesak, and our colleague Bandula Jayasekara on his program earlier this morning as well also highlighted this. And the 2 main monasteries, it says in the Sunday Times as well, the Malwat and Asgiri chapters do not accept April the 29th as Vesak Day, which they claim is the work of a misguided astrologer. How much do you believe in astrology?
Not so much for us, to be.
Is that reflective of your age group?
Probably. We are more of a. We think of looking at the world in a more scientific approach. Is what I.
More scientific approach, but that's the approach apparently that the cabinet will be appointed.
On the 6th of May is what we are hearing, but we are yet to find out.
How are you hearing that? Someone Dasa tell you that?
No, as I told you, not from astrology. But we are receiving reports say that it's going to happen around the 6th of May, and we are yet to find out how things will unfold. A lot of predictions have been made for us, but nothing is confirmed until it's official. So we are also waiting to receive information to say this is what is going to happen, and these are the ministers who will be appointed to the respective ministries. We also have to, as you mentioned, keep in mind that the President has a number of occasions said that the Cabinet of Ministers will be appointed in a scientific manner, and he has also pledged that he will appoint a cabinet that he will be responsible for, that the people can rely on, and that it is his responsibility that even though names are brought to him for appointment, for cabinet appointments, it is his responsibility to appoint the cabinet in a scientific and a just manner.
Well, the front page of the Times, Sunday Times yesterday, had the story about the Central Expressway project, and that a Japanese insurer has been asked to examine the environmental and social risks. Now, Chathuranga, it's one of those stories that Newsfirst highlighted, and the departure from process and so on. And we also highlighted, one of the first things we highlighted was the high premium being paid by this government on that project to next year insurance, which was 10.04%, and that's in a wartime, in a peacetime situation.
Not in a wartime.
Not in a wartime. And in a wartime situation, it was much less. Much less. So that we highlighted. Newsfirst highlighted that was an issue, and as we can see from yesterday's Sunday Times, the government appear to have rushed through the environmental impact on there. Then there is concern also about the scheme that the government is adopting to compensate involuntary displaced persons. Obviously they've been displaced because the government need the land and so on. The former police commissioner, who is also part of the team that gave some advice to the government on this, Professor Sri Lanka, alluded to this on Newsline the other day, that there is some concern as to how the government is actually going to implement compensating these people displaced by the Central Expressway project. Of course, Chathuranga, the Central Expressway project is the most complicated and the most expensive road project ever undertaken
in our country.
And therefore there is genuine concern, not only on the financial aspect but on the design and the and how long it will be, because this has got to be the bee's knees.
Faraz, now when we say that the Central Expressway is in 3 projects, 3 phases.
That's right.
When we say that there is a lack of funding for the first and the third projects, and then when we hear reports to say that the state banks are going to put in money and we are just going to construct the second phase or the portion that is in the middle, what does that really mean? How does that really work? The people won't be able to travel on it for the first phase, then you have the second phase being built, constructed by the government with the money of the country, the state banks, then you don't have another third phase. So
well, it's not that you don't have it, but it is the whole project itself is complicated because of the terrain and so on. But nevertheless, it's one of the highest per kilometer construction charges ever. But Sri Lanka and Sri Lankans, we appear to be rather myopic. If you remember the concerns, or you may not have, you may have still been in school, but the concerns about the Southern Expressway at the time, a lot of concern. But now people have, well, you've got to accept it, you've got no other choice. But there are no vociferous concerns anymore about that. It's been accepted that it's one of those necessities, and it appears, judging by the traffic jams we have during long weekends and so on, that it's serving its purpose. But the Central Expressway is, this project, especially that last section, section 3, has been a bone of contention, because we have a severe departure of process by the then Minister Lakshman Kiriyala, in which it is claimed that he had meetings with contractors and others who were not contractors but were potential subcontractors, and they completely sort of ignored the standing cabinet appointed committees on procurement and evaluation committees and so on. And it was a story like the bond that was sufficiently important enough for the Prime Minister to make a statement in Parliament. And again, it was the messenger who was shot because they took umbrage at our network. It was clear that they were referring to us. And but as former President Nasheed said at the EOTY ceremony, where he was the chief guest, and he was echoing what was Sir Winston Churchill said: never, never, never give up. And that's how it is, the media here. But these things won't go away.
True.
As a newsman, you must know these all these stories firsthand, because you're dealing with it day in and day out. It doesn't say. Do you think that it's going off the screen yet? Or is there a long way to go?
There is a long way to go for us, because even though politicians accuse Sri Lankans of forgetting after 2 weeks, but there is also this tendency where now, because politicians have said this so much, people don't forget now. People want to know what is happening in the country, want to know, especially when their money is being used in this way.
Yeah.
And when someone comes forward onto the TV or the radio or the internet and says, look, there is something wrong with this project, the people actually give their attention to what is happening, and people want to know.
Indeed.
And a topic that has also caught the attention of the general public is the pricing formula for fuel in the country. Now, there is a party that says, look, we need a pricing formula for fuel. There is a party that says, no, this is being done under the pressure of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. But all in all, Faraz, the economy of the country is being managed, but is it actually being managed is the question that we have to ask at the moment, because if the economy is being managed properly, are we, because the lowest GDP growth was reported 3.1 in 2017.
Yes.
We know this from the annual report of the central bank. Then lots of other matters. After 2015, the government came in 2015, the rupee has gone down by about 20%. Last year alone it stands, now it went up to 159 rupees just last week. So a lot of things happening in and around the country, but the economic management, key component that the government has to do, I think is not being done properly, because we also see for us that the cabinet has been reshuffled, ministers being shuffled around, but when it comes to doing the actual work, people do not seem to be doing what they have to.
And it's always end up in some form of sort of controversy, as it can be seen in the Keravalapitia LNG plant tender. We now have information that the Korean consortium is appealing and going for an appeal, obviously because they feel that due process has not been followed. And it's amazing, but at some ministries, controversy tends to follow the ministry secretary.
True.
And in this case, Dr. Suren Batagoda will have his work cut out yet again. The question most often asked of me, Chathuranga, is who is protecting Batagoda? We need to find out.
Faraz, now when it comes to all of these mega projects in the country, just to take a step out of the CEB and the ministry, when it comes to all of these mega projects in the country, it's very hard to imagine why the government and these officials who are responsible, state sector officials, can't go for competitive bidding. Why is it that they have to follow the Swiss tender method, things like that, and actually complicate things, whereas they could have...
They have a perfectly workable system in place.
Yes.
And the Auditor General of the country has long ago agreed that these methodologies are the best way to obtain the least cost, best benefit method. And they've been part and parcel of the system. when you change things that are in place and working, you are bound to have results, and the bond matter is once again a key story that highlights exactly that. The bond rules have been in place since 1994 and were only changed in February 2015. We all know what that has done. The change of that system outside of the rules, outside of due process, has resulted in this. We didn't really need a commission of inquiry to tell us that Arjuna Mahendran has acted mala fide in the interests of perpetual treasuries, which just ultimately happens to beneficially help his son-in-law, Arjuna Aloysius.
Now for us, from the central bank bond scam, we learned a lot of things. Us as journalists, I was quite young when I joined. It was just after this has started that I actually got to working as a reporter. But we learned a lot of things through what happened in the bond scam, how to look at these things, good knowledge about how bonds work, things like that. Now, as we move along, for us, we see similar trends in all of these mega projects. Minister being involved, government official taking the wrong decision, or taking the decision knowing that he's taking a wrong decision, things of that nature. Now, you mentioned about the power sector, the CEB. Now, there has been an issue in the CEB for us for a long time, and that issue is the CEB and the PUCSL, the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, the license holder for the electricity to be provided to the people, are having a little friction among them.
They have a little friction. Let's find out more about that little friction after this short break. Don't go away. After all, this is Newsline.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
Friday night and the lights are low, looking out for a place to go, where they play the right music, getting in the swing. You come to look for a king, and when you get the chance, you are the dancing queen, young and sweet, only 17.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
And welcome back to Newsline. And as you were saying, Chathuranga,
Faraz, before we go there, Faraz, a viewer has sent us a paper cutting to say that the new cabinet tomorrow, no surprises likely, a paper article that has been, so it is not the 6th, according to the Sunday Times, I think. It is going to be tomorrow, and according to the Sunday Times, it's no surprises likely, is the heading. So we have, Sunday Times seem to have idea of what's going to happen, or the island here seems to have an idea. But moving back to the topic we were discussing, the PUCSL and the CEB trade union. Now, the issue here is that the CEB trade union, one trade union of the CEB trade unions, are advocating for coal power in the country. And the PUCSL put forward a generation plan, a long-term generation plan, and that is to go into liquid natural gas or LNG in the future. But that is also the line that has been set up by the government of the country. I myself was seated at a press conference that was organized by the PUCSL, and Dr. Harsha De Silva, Deputy Minister back then, came forward and said the government's policy is to go into renewables, so on and so forth. But this particular trade union in the CEB wants to advocate for coal power, because we also know, for us, that all these coal plants, all the coal plant in our country is breaking down from time to time. And when we are going into the demand is going to increase in the future, things like that, there is going to be the requirement to spot purchase electricity and to purchase fuel to generate electricity. So this means once again a lot of money for some people. So there are rumors and reports say that this is why there is a tendency for coal from one faction, but there is another faction who says no, this is what the government has laid, this is where we have to be, and we have to look at LNG. So that friction has been there from time immemorial, and it is causing a problem in the country.
The former chairman of the Ceylon Electricity Board, Mr. Anuroba Jayapala, on some of our programs has maintained that LNG is a necessity in terms of energy security, and that it's part of the mix that is required. Whilst he was opposed to going for several big-scale, large-scale LNG plants, he did say that at least we needed at least one to help the balance, the mix, and to ensure the energy security of our country. Also, he said that this would help with balancing the costs involved. And so there's a big ding-dong battle going on. But again, we have to remember that some of these things are only possible because we have a rather odd institution within the cabinet called the CCEM, which I believe President Sirisena has now asked to be dismantled and now to go forward to a National Procurement Commission or Council, which is perhaps a better way, because the CCEM appeared to be a sort of super cabinet, and headed by a certain section of government, mainly the United Nations Party.
Once again, stepping away from process as we have.
Once again, we must bear in mind that all these matters, what it means is that we are stepping away from due process and procedure. This is what we've been going on and on and on about, because it is what good governance is all about. If you address those issues, if you stick to the rules and the processes and the established process, then there can be no room for anything untoward.
True.
And we must bear that in mind. It doesn't matter which party is in power or not. The rules are the rules. And the ministry secretaries are the chief accounting officers, and ministers have no business to tell them what to do. Ministers are there to ensure compliance in terms of policy, the wider picture. And any departure from that becomes a big problem.
True.
Now the other thing, of course, is the claim by Ranjan Ramanayaka that there is high-level corruption at Sri Lanka cricket. Well, it's about time that Mr. Ramanayaka started producing the proof, and there needs to be a comprehensive examination of those claims. Of course, there are a section of people who say that, look, we can't be having a commission into everything. Well, that of course is true. But as you know, are you prepared on your news team now? Are you prepared? The next big ticket item is coming along.
Sri Lankan Airlines. Sri
Lankan Airlines. And there are as many different aspects to the mismanagement of Sri Lankan Airlines as there are you've probably eaten hot dinners. So, are you guys ready?
Yes, Faraz. Honestly, a travesty, a tragedy as to what has happened to our national carrier in our country. A brand name that actually depicts what Sri Lanka is about. A brand name that, when seen overseas, is depicting what our country is about, has fallen down to that level. So, the President appointed this commission to investigate into Sri Lanka and Sri Lankan Airlines, like the Bond Commission. We are yet to see how things will unfold. The public complaints have been taken in.
The thing is, Chathuranga, we must bear in mind that tourism, the leisure sector in our country, is one of those industries that's on the way up, and therefore we must also then appreciate that Sri Lankan Airlines is a key component member of that industry, because they bring the people in.
True.
And If it is forever and a day engulfed in this committee and that committee, then the airline is not going forward. I think there is a case for the government and the current board of Sri Lankan Airlines to recognize that Sri Lankan Airlines is just too top-heavy. And if it was a corporate, in the private sector, the owners and the management would ensure that there aren't as many workers there in terms of aircraft and facilities and the return on their investment. So Sri Lankan Airlines is the next big story, and we will obviously find out about what happened in the past. But to go into the future, they need professional managers.
True.
Otherwise, somebody in the industry told me that no investor with any sense is going to touch it unless there is a commitment to making Sri Lankan Airlines lean and mean.
At least in this case, let's hope for us that whoever was responsible for Sri Lankan Airlines to come down to this level will be found out, will be discovered, and that person will be brought before the law, unlike in the bond scam where Mr. Arjuna Mahendan is not in the country.
Well, Chathuranga, I don't want to be pessimistic, but going on past record, this will only be words and words and words, and there's no real commitment on the part of the government to get to the bottom of it. There is no professionalism. When they came in, first of all, we had an ex-planter who was made the chairman of the national carrier, and not a lot happened. They lost millions on all sorts of things, and when this government came in spite of the assurances and commitments to good governance and professionalism and accountability and responsibility and all that, they did almost the same thing. They appointed somebody who knows to do some other business in the textile industry and sell a pretty good cup of coffee or two, but not about running an airline. And whether they like it or not, we say it the way we see it, and there's no point trying to paint a different picture. That's the bottom line. And there's no good Iran Vikramatne saying that Sri Lankan Airlines is run by professionals who knew what they were doing, because now we have a new board and they clearly didn't know what they were doing. And so this will continue and continue. Of course, the media will be busy because we at Newsfirst will continue to highlight all these great dangers that await the people of this country. Now then, Chaturanga, apart from that, are there any other stories that the team's working on that you feel able to?
Yes, Faraz. Now, as we just spoke about, the economy of the country is going it's not in a good place, and we do not see it coming back onto the other side as well in the near future. We spoke to the governor of the central bank a few days ago when the annual report was being put out. The governor also said that the rupee depreciating to this level is not an issue that the central bank sees as an issue, but
that's another way of putting it. But the point is, the rupee cost of our foreign borrowings has gone up with the depreciation. That's what's happened. And now we're told, well, there's one article in this morning's press that Sri Lanka has printed over 1 trillion rupees of new money. So there is a problem.
There is a problem.
It's just the way that it's presented. There's a problem with that too. But bottom line is this: the rupee against the dollar was 131 in January 2015, and today it's like 160. And there lies part of the problem. And on that note, Chaturanga, thank you very much for popping in today.
Thank you.
And continue the good work in the newsroom. And interesting coverage about the Vesa Kalapia out here at outside these offices.
We'll be having it today and tomorrow as well, open for the public. People can come and be a part. Lots of things happening, lots of activities happening. The sacred relics have been brought down here. Pandals have been set up, dansals have been set up. So small invitation to the general public, our viewers, to come and be a part of the Sirasa Namami, Sirasa Union Assurance Saksuan Faraz.
Indeed, it starts about 4 o'clock, right?
Around 4 o'clock.
From 4 onwards.
Yes.
And do come in. It's all colourful and it's all very, very inspiring.
Yes, indeed.
And on that note, that's about it from Newsline on this wonderful day. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.